The Bills are set to battle the Titans in a Monday Night Football in Orchard Park for their home opener. Tennessee has gotten the better of the Bills each of the last two seasons. However, this year Buffalo is heavily favored, and after a great performance last Thursday to kick off the season, can the Bills continue to circle the wagons? That and much more coming right your way. This is the Friday Night Forecast.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming to rep the East. Buffalo bat with a vengeance, we resurrected the team, man, we dangerous. Watch for these horns, they lacerate and cut. We don't play no game while we play this game, no, I playing us. You know what it's about, you made me wanna shout. They said they're taking out, we took another route. Deuces to the drought, play through all the doubters, finger pointing and laughing. The ones that was talking that trash are the same ones circling wagons, we ain't having it. Dominate divisions ever since we put the Allen in. Knocks the competition out the stadium like hammer fist. Stephon Diggs a grave and he pays respects to the cornerbacks that can't cover quickness, then he catches it. In 1995 to 2020, break the streak. Kept the faith in every season for the team, cause I believe. Taught me no matter how many times you're down, do not accept defeat. Feel like number 17. You got me feeling like I'm Josh Allen, yeah. What? You got me feeling like I'm Josh. Okay. You got me feeling like I'm Josh Allen, yeah. Josh. Yeah. Got me feeling like I'm who? Josh. Yeah. Josh Allen. Yeah. Succeed the most in the freezing cold. Break a couple tables in a parking lot with sleet and snow. Yeah. Put the work in with Sean McDermott, a worthy coach. Y'all can give the hands like a Wilson ball when it's Beasley thrown. Yeah. Got so many yards to the point we owning property. Yeah. I remember haters talking foolish with that gossiping, but they don't want it with Buffalo. Cause when the winter storm hits, they'll be stuck with nowhere to go. Let's play Micah hide and seek. We'll find a week up on the field, say hike and wheel. Unleash the likes of Trey White and Evans, all kinds of D. Back in the driver's seat, the Singletary, he's sprinting scary to carry the ball through the plane, embarrass these adversaries, prepare to be victimized. We gave New England pats up on their back. Told New York to jet, they left the scene and packed their bags. Went fishing for some dolphins, left them beats up on the sand. AFC East champs. You got me feeling like I'm Josh Allen, yeah. What? You got me feeling like I'm Josh. Okay. You got me feeling like I'm Josh Allen, yeah. Josh. Got me feeling like I'm who? Josh. Yeah. Josh Allen.
Happy Friday, Bills Mafia, and welcome to another episode of the Friday Night Forecast on the Cold Front Report. I am your host, Travis Blakesley. Thank you for tuning in. Before we get started, please go ahead and show us some love with a like, a share, and subscribe, that you can stay up to date with all things Buffalo. Remember, you can listen to the show and any other show in podcast forms by searching for the Cold Front Report on your favorite audio app. Tonight, as always, I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Herm the Buffalonian. How's it going, Herm?
I'm doing well. We're 1-0.
1-0. And Cody, how you doing, Cody?
I'm doing well, patiently waiting for Monday night.
It's been a while since we played last, right?
It's been a long time. It feels like, what's it been, 8-9 days?
That's right.
Yeah, I think it's 11 by the time we get to game time. And we get that weird 7:20 start?
Yeah, 7:15.
7:15, yeah, right. And you're putting two games on at the same time, an hour apart. I didn't understand that one.
I never understand when they do that. It's got to be something with the networks, I assume. But yeah, fellas, let's get into what happened while we were away. As we mentioned, the Bills kicked off the 2022 season by defeating the Rams 31-10. And while the Rams raised their Super Bowl banners, the Bills dropped the hammer, answering any lingering questions that remained regarding their Super Bowl aspirations. In what was undoubtedly a team win, it was the stars of the Buffalo Bills who commanded the spotlight. Josh Allen was near perfect with 4 total touchdowns, while Stephon Diggs embarrassed Jalen Ramsey and compiled 122 yards on 8 catches and a touchdown. Last but certainly not least, newcomer Von Miller laid siege to his former team's offensive line and accounted for 2 of the 7 total Buffalo sacks. In other news, Jordan Poyer got a raise. Although the duration of the contract remains the same, the team offered an incentive-based bonus totaling near $2 million on top of his current contracts. Herm, will go to you first. Overall thoughts, comments, and concerns or questions regarding what happened while we were away?
Well, first of all, the game itself, we won by 3 touchdowns, 21 points, with 4 turnovers. And as you were texting me during the game, that was my kind of game because I'm greedy, and I felt, and I think Cody, you
Definitely.
texted as well. We should have had 45, 50 points in that game. We left a lot of points on the table, but it showed also just the strength of the offense and the depth of our talent, both offensively and defensively. That we could turn the ball over 4 times and basically dominated the Super Bowl champions and rained on their parade, getting their rings, their banners, blah 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 blah. But I have great expectations, and I feel that we have the best offense in the league. And as you said, the stars came out. So I'm happy about the outcome, but we need to clean a few things up. And Tennessee has been our nemesis for the last 2 seasons, in particular, and it's time to end that run right now, which is going to be Monday night.
Cody, you want to piggyback on Herm's comments?
Yeah, no, it was an outstanding game. I think all of Bills Mafia was probably going crazy as I was up in New England. Yeah, I guess some of the things that we weren't so sure about really came out in flying colors there. The defensive line, and in particular, some of the young guys, Boogie Basham, AJ Epinesa, and Greg Rousseau, always getting on the stat sheet. Jordan Phillips with a monster game. Obviously, Von Miller, he showed out, and they really were no match for or I should say, the offensive line was no match for the Bills D line. There, it was quite the show they put on. It was really something to see. It's something to really look forward to, I think, in this part of the year, because it was kind of an unknown for all of us, and if they can live up to that game in, game out, then we're really going to be something to deal with here. So, other than that, offense, just a couple comments. Josh Allen, he looked phenomenal. One thing I did notice with him, and I don't know if you guys picked up on it or not, but the ball placement seemed to be better. He was leading receivers a little bit more, fitting the ball in tight windows. He just looked sharper. Now you can look at the 2 picks and say, well, he had 2 interceptions. One, we know the ball got ripped out of McKenzie's arms. That's not on him.
Right.
And then the other one, the one to Crowder, he kind of sat flat on a crossing route. I think it might have been an option route. I'm not too sure. So that can go either way. But if you have one mistake in a game, what can you do when you put out the kind of game tape that he did? So outstanding game from him. The receivers, Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs, just embarrassing. Jalen Ramsey was incredible. So to Jalen Ramsey, just want to say that pick was trash. So other than that, it was probably everything that we could have hoped for in week 1.
That's right.
Like you said, Travis, they put their banner up, we dropped the hammer. So awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty obvious on paper how most analysts, fans thought it was going to play out, but it's different when it actually happens in real life. I expected it to be a little bit more of a close game, but looking back on it, that Rams offensive line is a big woof.
Yeah.
And when you pit them up against one of the premier pass rushers in the league, a group of guys behind him who are just hungry and have taken another step in their collective pass rushing skills and just working together, it really spelled disaster for Los Angeles. You really saw the additions the Bills had and the subtractions that the Rams had. Yeah, Bobby Wagner's out there, but Bobby Wagner, he's controlling the middle of the field, but he can only do so much. Not many people are going to be able to slow down Josh Allen. Certainly, the run game looked much improved. I thought the offensive line play was very good. And the players who we expected to step up and really take charge did. And, you guys summed it up great. So now that awesome experience and game was in the past, I mean, I know it's been over a week now. Let's start looking forward to Monday night. Cody, why don't you break down the injuries while we get started with breaking down this matchup?
Yeah, so we'll start with the Bills. A couple guys to watch here. The three guys to watch, really. We got Tim Settle and Ed Oliver. Tim Settle, for me, is probably the one here that has me the most concerned just because his ability to play the run going up against Henry. So that's somebody to watch. I hope one of these guys suits up. And the other one's Dane Jackson with a knee. So those are the three guys that did not practice. The other guys that come up on the report, the same guys from last week, Tommy Doyle and Quentin Mars. Those guys are full practice, so they'll be available if the Bills so choose. Now jumping down to the Titans. Now the Titans, their injuries are starting to mount real quick. They got 10 guys on the injury report this week, and that's not even including the guys they already sent to IR. Most notably, Harold Landry. So Hand joins him on IR, and I believe a backup running back. I'm not sure if I even wrote the name down. Yeah, I have it here. Moore Jr. So I mean, those guys, Hand and Moore, those are bit players, special teams. So, but as we know, Harold Landry, that's probably the biggest loss they could probably have dealt with on the defensive side outside of Jeffrey Simmons. So just to run down the rest of them, guys that did not practice: Christian Fulton, Dontrell Hilliard, Jamaro Jones. That's it. Now, Christian Fulton is a starter, so that one is something to watch. He plays cornerback, so we'll see what happens with that one. Nate Davis, he's a guard, another starter. He's limited, along with Kyle Phillips, wide receiver, who actually had a really nice day. I think he had over 60 yards and a nice punt return, although he did flub one. Giants kind of bailed him out, or at least the quarterback bailed him out by throwing an interception in the end zone. And then outside linebacker, Ola Adenlil, another backup guy, but he does get on the field. And Dylan Raynans. I don't know if I'm mispronouncing some of these guys. I don't.
Hey,
I'm sorry.
You do your best. You do your best.
And then a couple of the guys that come up on there. Ben Jones, center, not injury related, so I imagine he will play. Taylor Lewan, another guy, full practice, and then Lonnie Johnson. So those guys will be available, and I expect them to be on the field.
Yeah, it's getting late in the week, so obviously these designations on a Friday and a Saturday are very important. Herm, is there anything that struck you going over the injury report, whether it's the Bills or the Titans?
Well, the one that Cody mentioned, and I looked at earlier too with the Titans, is Hilliard, Dontrell Hilliard, who actually had 2 touchdowns receiving in that game against the Giants. Out of the backfield. So he had 3 catches on 4 attempts for 2 touchdowns. And he actually had 61 yards in receiving yards. He came second, as Cody was saying, to the rookie who had a pretty good day for them, Phillips, who had 6 catches for 66 yards. But Hilliard was really their number one running back. And I think you said, Cody, the backup is listed as Moore, I think you said.
Moore Jr.
Right, but Hilliard obviously was very active in the game. He was their top runner and their second best receiver, along with 2 touchdown catches, I guess, when they got into the red zone. I didn't watch the game, but I was just looking at the statistics. So in terms of and for us, is it Settles and now Oliver, because he was questionable.
He has not practiced this week at all, so his status is going to be up in the air.
Right. So him and Settles, in that middle with Derrick Henry, as Cody said,
Yeah.
it's paramount that we shut that down. And also that middle pass rush, that line was very effective. So those two, if they're not able to play, could present some problems, even though, the Phillips and the rest of that our guys on the edge obviously played extremely well, and they played well in the middle. But I hope they can get on the field.
Yeah, we also have, like I said, Dane Jackson there. So
Right.
if he can't go, then we're starting two rookies here who showed out pretty nicely, but still, I guess
rookies.
if you're gonna come up short with cornerbacks, I guess maybe this isn't the worst week, but still,
Yeah, you're
it's
missing
a little bit
a
scary.
starting cornerback. Exactly. Because on that note, in the Giant game, they had 4 catches over 20 yards. The Titans, even though they didn't, he threw for 260 yards, but he threw 4 balls over 20, 4 receiving catches over 20 yards. And we only gave up 1 over to Cooper Kupp, 28 yards, which is the forte of our defensive secondary, is really not giving up long balls.
Right.
So, they had 4 catches over 20 against the Giants, and we only gave up 1 in that Ram game. Even though Cooper Kupp caught 13 balls, he caught 1 for 28 yards, and that was the longest catch of the night for the Rams.
Yeah, while we're breaking down some X's and O's, Herm, why don't we start? Let's see. We'll start in the trenches. How do you see this matchup going? Is there anyone that sticks out to you matchup-wise on either team?
Well, obviously, as Cody said, Jeffrey Simmons he's been a beast. He had 2 sacks last week. Along with him, they had 5 sacks total. So a linebacker, Rashad Weaver had 2, and Bud Dupree, who's also been a good linebacker, had 1. So they got to Daniel Jones 5 times last week with their defensive front. But on the other side of the coin, they gave up 238 yards rushing to the Giants. Saquon had, I think, about 168 of it, but still 238 yards rushing. Their defensive line gave up, which kind of amazed me. As I said, I didn't really watch that game specifically, but to give up 238, that's the most yardage they've given up. They were second in the league last year in defense against the rush. So go ahead.
Yeah, if I could just interject there for a second, Herm. Yeah, I think I read that they had given up something like 130 yards before contact to Saquon.
Right.
So
Yeah, exactly.
I did catch that game, and the one thing I think that kind of jumps out, and that Bud Dupree is still coming back from that Achilles, and he looks better, than he did, but they looked slow. They looked very slow. They got beat to the outside every time.
Okay.
They would try to the D end or the outside linebackers. In this case, it was mostly Bud Dupree would crash inside. The linebacker would scrape off, and he was never getting there. Or the tight end would peel, and they would block, and then he was gone. Saquon was gone. So it was about as bad as I've seen the Titans' defense look as far as defending the run. It was kind of out of sorts, I would say.
Yeah, because as you're saying, besides Saquon's 164, 68, you still gave up a lot of yardage to the other backs as well. Yeah, 238 yards. That was that sounded like one of our games against the Titans. Our Titans in that Chief game, and remember the Chief game of
that's exactly what I was thinking.
2 or 3. Yeah, you remember that. Yeah. So
while we're there, Herm, obviously Simmons and Dupree are the marquee players that are going to be available. With the Bills' revamped offensive line, do you see the Bills getting physical again this week and commit to running the ball a bit more than they have under Brian Daboll?
Yeah, I believe that we can run the ball, as Cody said. I'm looking at statistics, but he watched the game, and that's the Giants. That was shocking to me that you gave up that many yards rushing.
They resurrected Saquon's career right there.
Yeah, in the one game. And how many games will he get? $165 approximately. that remains to be seen.
Let's just
But
play all 16 or all 17.
yeah, but I feel it bodes well for us because Motor looked good when he ran. Moss, he looked good. It looked like the opportunities weren't there. Cook,
Yeah, that's the thing is, if I can just say, I think Moss looked all right. He just wasn't put in good positions. You know, the
exactly.
situations where he had the ball in his hand, they were not favorable.
Right. And then one of my actives that I picked when we kept 4 running backs was Cook's first run of his career. You fumble. So, but I read a great comment from Von Miller about that particular play. He said, he showed us all a lot of things during training camp and in the practices. He goes, he got that fumble out of the system, but he's a great addition for us, and he's gonna be okay. Which I felt was, coming from a future Hall of Famer, defensive lineman. Yeah, that was from the just teammate standpoint, because he had to feel horrible your first carry in the NFL and you fumble. So, and I think he was on the field for only 2 more plays. And I don't know if it was a matter of McDermott or, you're punishing him or you're lacking confidence in him, because he did play well in the preseason. And I really like him as an addition to, to our offensive attack. So hopefully he got that out of his system and he'll contribute as expected.
I agree. And it'll be fun to see if the Bills are able to move the ball on the ground, and let's see if all 3 of those backs are active. McDermott's
that's going to be interesting.
McDermott's good to throw us through a loop every once in a while, but I don't know. I was kind of in favor of. I don't. Obviously, you want all 53 guys to play, and as Jason mentioned, Kamara fumbled. Hunt. There's a long list of great NFL running backs who.
That's
fumbled,
good one,
so.
Jason. You're right. You're right.
Yeah. If I could, just a comment, because like I did get a chance to watch that Giant game. Obviously, that was the game that was on around here. I think there's going to be some room here for the Bills to really run the football. Now, I don't, the thing with Cook is it's a tough break. It didn't really matter so much in this game.
Right.
I think we had an interception right after. I think that's when Dane Jackson came up and maybe bailed him out a little bit.
That's right.
But it could have gone, in a closer game. Obviously, that can't happen.
It was in our territory.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it could have been a lot worse. In hindsight, you kind of shake it off. The guy will do better. Looking ahead to this week, one thing I did notice with the Titans is their linebackers have a really hard time disengaging from blockers. Zach Cunningham looked like he couldn't get anywhere close to these runners. And they had a problem with motion. And one thing you saw a lot with the Bills game is not just McKenzie from last year, but just using motion to kind of draw the eyes of the defense and having a problem with the RPO. And
just like you mentioned, that touchdown to Davis, he reduced the formation. It looked like it was going to be a crackback block, and he faked it, and he just leaked right out. So good call.
Yeah, and the Giants really just shoved that down the Titans' throat last week. I mean, they're lucky to get out of there with a win. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, they were running all over them. And these guys they did not know where to go. And they were having problems with RPO with Daniel Jones. So,
right.
I mean, we're talking a whole 1 or 2 tiers below the quarterback they'll be playing in Buffalo. So I think there's a lot of room for the Bills really to kind of run all over this team.
I think that the only way that the Titans can stick in this game, it's their calling card, which is always bothers me a little bit, or worries me, I should say. It's being physical. I mean, straight from their head coach all the way down. It's so obvious. That's the reason why that team was able to be successful last year. They play a style of football that you don't always see, and if you're able to will yourself into those positions because you're you're actively not just beating them, but like physically beating them, moving them, making them wish the game is over sooner than it actually will be. I think that's the way that this team wins, and obviously that starts in the trenches. Do they have the horses? That remains to be seen. Let's move on to the skill positions. Herm.
Well, can I say one other thing here?
Okay.
Okay, the running. Now we've been hearing all week about Josh because we still have another runner, including our running backs. And I just wanted both of you guys take. Should he cut it down a little bit or go down?
No.
In your opinions?
I don't care. I've never cared. Honestly, I think he'll cross that bridge as he gets older. Physically, he's not going to be able to do it forever. Do I want him to be safe? Yeah, but you can't neuter him. And
no. But he took some blows in that game. Yeah.
Statistically, quarterbacks have a higher chance of getting hurt in the pocket than outside the pocket. I mean, that's just the numbers. Obviously, you're taking more hits when you're moving the ball. Now, if he's on the sideline, do I need to see him stiff arming guys when he's getting the first down out of the bounds? Not really, but could he pick his spots a little better? But I'm not complaining. I certainly am not complaining.
As opposed to taking the collision.
Yeah. No, I don't mind it. I mean, I think the thing that we all love so much about Josh Allen is he's a gamer, and the guy's a dog. You heard it from Jordan Poyer. The guy's a dog. If it's an unnecessary hit, when you're outside the pocket and, if you can get down, sure, get down. But I'm not going to zap the guy of what he does best and what makes him the most dynamic quarterback in the NFL. And that's his ability to be physical and to put people on their back. And you can't take that away from him. That's part of who he is, and that's what makes him special.
Okay. Yeah, and I've been trying to tell as I've been asked that question as I'm moving around. Oh, it takes too many hits. It's going to happen, and they're going to be. In fact, one on Twitter, they were talking about Bounty Gate with the Saints, and would that happen to Josh Allen from team, and it was deflected that no, the NFL doesn't allow that anymore. But all of you guys have played the game, and there are certain people, QBs are targets, period. And the question was, when we're up 21, do you want to be taking multiple hits on a run, something like that? So, right. But I agree, that's his nature. Yeah, and physically, he's a big boy.
Yeah, he's absolutely.
A big boy. Yeah.
And I think we all agree with Trav there. Just sorry, Trav. I think the Titans will try to make this kind of a slobber knocker. I can see a couple personal fouls just because, I think Vrabel, we know what kind of guy he is. He's a hard-nosed guy. They like to play defense or run the football, control the clock. And I think that they'll be on Allen. They'll try to get their shots in as well as every other position. And they're going to try to make it a dogfight. And that is their reputation. That is, the whole gritty and tough and all the other things that you come up with the Titans, because they don't have those dynamic skill players that, say, the Bills had, or that they had in the past with Julio Jones and A.J. Brown.
That's right.
Speaking of A.J. Brown, the Titans seem to be a little bit devoid of talent on the offensive side of the ball, skill position-wise. Herm, why don't you bring us down that road regarding the skill positions of the Titans?
Well, Cody mentioned before on the injury report, the rookie. First of all, they play 8 rookies with a lot of time on the field. But Phillips had 6 catches for 66 yards. And then their other rookies had 10 catches for 132 yards combined, which was 4 or 5 other guys, but rookies. So they don't have A.J. Brown, and who's been a thorn in our side big time, along with he and Henry were like the biggest thorns in our sides. Robert Woods is the one that shocked me because he caught 1 ball last week, and I felt he would be the best of their receiver of that bunch that you had, Travis, because as you said, they're really devoid of with losing AJ Brown, Julio looked good with the Bucks last week. I watched some of that game. He looked like he rejuvenated himself, or he's on the juice. But he looked fast. He looked pretty good. AJ Brown had 100 and something yards with the Eagles. So these other guys, they're playing all rookies on the outside now, and so Dane Jackson. This, as you said, this may be the game. I think Cody said it best, that if you have to miss your starting cornerback, but you never know. As I said, they had 4 balls over 20 yards in the game last week. It wasn't like he threw for 300-400 yards, but at the same time, you always have Henry sitting back there. And with us last year with the 76-yard run, which added to his total with 3 touchdowns. And so that skill position right there, I think, is their biggest threat that we need to shut down first and foremost, because their tight ends caught 3 balls in total, and they had 16 catches by rookies for a total really of just under 200 yards. So really, but as I said, out of those catches, you had 4 balls that were caught over 20 yards with the Giants. So Cody, you watched the game. I really can't evaluate the Giants defense at this particular time, especially the secondary. If you gave up 4 balls over 20 yards, where were you on the field in the circumstances? So
Right.
I think our secondary, first of all, our safeties, and Sarian Neal, they give a comfort level to our cornerbacks, our young cornerbacks. And the pass rush, we didn't blitz last week. We rushed 4 men and had 7 sacks. And Vaughn, I think you put it, Trav, you wrote, like paying over 30 to a free agent. And,
I'm cool with it now.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, but he's mentoring, as Cody said, Russo, Epinesa, and Boogie, and they look like it. I've watched some of the practice films and everything with him and Bruce Smith showing these rookies, and you couldn't get a better one when Bruce on the defensive end and Von Miller to mentor you. And they're young and they're talented. So, and they showed it. So on matchup wise, there's really at the skill positions, other than Henry as a running back, they're outside. There's no one that scares me. As obviously we're Bills fans, nobody that scares me. But the bottom line is we have to shut down Henry for us. And they also had, this was a good stat. They faced 3rd and 4 or less 7 times and only made 1 first down, because the Giants were putting 7-8 men in the box. And he completed 1 pass over 5 yards in 7 third down situations, 4 yards or less, and you converted 1 time.
Which is night and day to last year, because it's like a death of 1,000 cuts. We get to 3rd down, and then that's when A.J. Brown came up with those big plays.
That's right.
It happened multiple times, and
It's
frustrating. Though, I mean, we watched it together. It was frustrating because it was a weird game, because it was like we were very casual the whole time, and then the game just ended on a 4th down, and we're just looking at each other like,
yeah.
That's
and
it.
We're still in the game. I mean, we make the first down, we win that game. You're right,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So Cody, you watch the game. You seem like you had a good eye. I mean,
Yeah.
did the Bills just play their game defensive wise? Is it? Do you need to pay any attention outside of trying to stop the run, which they've done well outside of that 176-yard run previous to?
Right. That's kind of been our argument the last couple of times, right? They weren't so bad. They just had that one run that.
Well, to be fair, the 2 weeks prior, or the 2 years prior, Henry didn't do much.
Yeah. Right. No, you're right. You're right. No, I don't. We hit on it. The team has lost talent over the last couple of years, from Jono Smith going over to New England to AJ Brown. These guys, they haven't really replaced them. Obviously, they went heavy in the draft. I like the Traylon Burks. Solid. I think he had 4 or 5 catches. I think he's going to be a good pro. The guy out of the slot, I think.
But he's not AJ Brown. He's
not
the
AJ
biggest
Brown.
thing.
No, they don't have a player that's an equivalent to AJ Brown. Herm hit on it before. Second half last year, he chewed us up. They don't have that player. They have good bit role players right now that can maybe turn into something. Who knows what Burks is going to be in even 6-7 weeks? He might turn into that number one receiver. But right now, the buck starts and stops with Henry. If you're able to shut him down, this team does not have the firepower to hang with Buffalo. They just don't have it at this point. They're not going to win a 35-34 game. I don't see it. They have to find a way to make this a much lower scoring, grinded out type game. So, and that being said, and we touched on it. Their offensive line. Let me say this too. The left tackle, Luan, the guy's always been whatever, kind of a prick, but he's not very good anymore. I mean, I don't know if you guys have watched any of the Titans game.
No, I don't think he's ever been great. I don't think he's ever lived up to his draft status.
Right, reputation, exactly. Right.
But they're trying to help. They're helping him out on third down. They're chipping. They're trying to I mean, if you're helping your left tackle on passing downs, something ain't going right. The guard that we spoke about, Gabe, he's nicked up. Now my biggest concern, and I think probably collectively for a lot of Bills fans out there, is the fact that Tim Settle and Ed Oliver are, we'll say, questionable at best. I think it's very unlikely that both of them play. It'd be nice to get one of them. Now we do have what's the guy in the practice squad? They were Trav, me and you were both high on
Bryant.
Yeah, Brandon Bryant. So I mean, you can bring him up in a pinch. There's a couple.
You got
things
Shaq who can reduce down. You got Boogie who can reduce.
Absolutely, and then Daquan Jones was great last week. He's a big boy.
Yeah.
And then Jordan Phillips was an absolute monster, man. I don't know about you guys. That guy gets me jacked up. Yeah. I'm so happy he's back on this team.
Me too. I think he's happy. He's hyped to be back in Buffalo. He said it.
Well, he says it, and I mean the production doesn't lie. He had more sacks in the last game than he did the previous season.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah.
I know he was on the shelf a bit, but all right. Long story short, our defense is better than their offense.
Very true. Now that brings us to the flip side. For the Bills, they got a star-studded cast of receivers and backs and tight ends. How is this Titans defense going to hold up? Is there anybody, like we got a comment here saying the best cornerback and best pass rusher out on their defense? They don't know how they can slow the Bills offense down. I'm in agreement. I think the Titans, or at least their fans, are hoping for a little bit of a layover, or have it knock off some rust. But I think you can put that to bed when the Bills, they played the first game of the season on a Thursday night, but the layover is the same, and there was not 1 ounce of rust outside of small mistakes. I just don't see it happening. But Herm, is there anything that you see with the Bills' offense going against the Titans' defense?
No, I like what Cody said. Our defense is better than our offense, and I think both of you guys know. I feel we have the best and deepest offense in the league. Our offense is better this year than last year, and I told you the benchmark for me was that second half of the Buck game. From that point forward, I felt we had our offense was humming and was the best offense in the league. And obviously, we ended up very disappointed, but it wasn't the offense by any stretch of the imagination. And then Thursday night, it just looked like they just picked up where they left off in that Kansas City game, and with 4 turnovers. You won by 21 because the defense was outstanding as well. So our offense is outstanding against a defense that statistically from the Giants was shocking to me that they're mediocre. And then Cody says on a visual standpoint of watching the game that they look that way, slow and out of character, as you're saying, because Vrabel, as you said, they've been a physical team, which has given us a lot of trouble in the past, a lot of trouble at the line of contact. But at our skill positions against their defensive skill positions, there's no match. I mean, we have a lot of weapons, and at the head of that attack is Josh, and we have great we got wide out slot receivers, backups, our running backs, and the line has played extremely well. So I don't feel that. I feel this could be this from a retribution standpoint, which I think all of us and all the Bills nations would love, is to just ram it down their throat. Then they're going to come in there. They'll have to stop the run, and our passing game is outstanding. So I don't see it as an even match by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, Cody. You look at the list on their depth chart. You got a lot of guys on IR. Obviously Landry, Chance Campbell, who is an inside backer for them. Monty Rice is out, another inside backer. You already mentioned Zach Cunningham, who just, he's best as a pass defender, I guess, in coverage. But really, Bud Dupree's the only one out there, and then you got guys in the secondary like Caleb Farley, who really hasn't matured into the hype that was behind him when he was drafted. Right. But they do have Amani Hooker, who has improved every single year, and he's one of those top safeties. And then obviously one of the best in Kevin Byard. Do we see? I mean, I think we want to see Dawson Knox getting going, but do you think they'll be able to neutralize him, or will they play a significant part in stopping this Bills offense?
Well, I think that you kind of said it right there. Their safeties are probably the strong point of their defense with Kevin Byard. They kind of don't. If they kind of remind me of the Bills in a way. They have the two safeties there that kind of run the show, and then two really young cornerbacks in McCreary and Farley, a 1 year a rookie and a second year player there. So they really rely on those guys, and they disguise coverages kind of the way that the Bills do. So it starts with those guys. But I think the matchup just doesn't it's not a good matchup for them. Just the strength of our offense, we know what it is. It's Josh Allen in the passing game. The Rams couldn't defend it with a top, some people think is the best cornerback in football in Jalen Ramsey, and he had a perfect passer rating against him. So you take a guy like Caleb Farley or McCreary, and I just don't see how they're going to slow these guys down. If they had the pass rush, and again, losing Landry is huge. They were not getting to Dan. They might have had 5 sacks, but there was plenty of times where they were.
Right.
He had all the time in the world. He was running around. And Bud Dupree, he looks better.
And just to note, the Giants' offensive line has been decimated this season.
Right. So I just don't think they're going to be able to hold up, which brings me back to what I said earlier. They're going to try to, it's just an inferior opponent. And when you're inferior, you kind of try to play it the way you can play it and scrap and claw and play a little dirty and see if you can get out of there with a win. I just don't see it. They do not match up well. And I think the Bills can really take advantage, especially with the motion plays, the RPOs, and the option routes. They just don't seem to have the mobility in the middle of the field, with the linebackers that they have. Whether or not Zach Cunningham is good against the pass or not, he's not going to be able to stick with McKenzie or if they move brain fart here, guys, help me out. Crowder. Yeah.
Crowder. Yeah.
So I just don't think it's a good look for them.
Well, one thing I'm going to add to that is Farley. I actually watched an interview earlier because he's coming back from an ACL. he only played 20 downs against the Giants, and it was in an interview with him that he wants to be more active this week because they're bringing him back a little slowly because he is coming from an ACL. So his backup, I forget the name. Yeah, I'm having a brain fart too because I did look at it and do a little research. So McCreary. All right, McCreary is actually their number one cornerback right now, just because Farley's coming back from that injury. And I think he was only on in the Giant game. I'm pretty sure 20 downs, and he wants to increase his time on the field against the Bills, which may not be the best play to come back out here. And but we'll see.
Christian Fulton is the other cornerback that
right.
But he's questionable, like you said.
Yeah, he didn't practice today. So
right.
Yeah, so. Just to wrap it up, they're going to have to use a lot of smoke and mirrors, a lot of disguise coverages, which they're going to be able to do with those safeties. And really, to touch on Cody's point, they're going to have to try to get under the Bills' skin, a la Jacksonville. They're going to don't be surprised if you see some personal fouls, some pushing and shoving, but the Bills just need to stay composed. They need to play their game, and they need to get up early. I know the Titans are not a team that you can really take the run game out of the equation. I mean, you may be up 3 touchdowns, and they're still going to run the football. So the faster you can really just add these points. Don't settle for the field goal, Herm, right? The first 2 drives of last year was the deciding factor. You kick 2 field goals deep in their territory, and it comes back to bite you. So
finish the drives.
Yeah, they know what they have to do. It's just execution. And if Thursday's game spoke of anything about their ability to execute, I think it's good signs. All right, let's transition out of this segment to something a little lighter. If I were a betting man, all right, let's do our pick number 1, Cody. Both teams complete their first attempted pass.
No.
Oh, okay. Herm, what do you think?
Yes.
Yeah,
He's
I'm going to
say Tannehill's going to throw to his running back.
Yeah, or a tight end, some little flair. And Josh Allen's going to look to build a rhythm, so I think that's a yes for me. But at least we got a little difference of opinion here.
Well, Tannehill is going to throw a 5-yard pass, but Josh Allen's going to air it out, and we're just going to miss on the first throw.
Okay. Right.
I like that, Cody. Coming out, guns blazing, huh?
Cody, number 2, Derrick Henry over 95.5 rushing yards.
I'm going to go under here. He was under last week against the New York Giants. I think we have a better defense, and I think we really key on him this week. I think they're going to have to kind of come up with something else to get their offense going. Now, he only had 20 carries last week. I expect him to have at least 25 this week. But if they can hold them under, what was the number you gave me?
95.5.
95. So if he was at 4 yards a carry, he'd be at 100. So 3.7 under.
Herm, is this the year that we see King Henry slow down?
I think it is. Even though, as Cody said last week, he had 82 yards on 21 carries, but he would have been well over 100. They had 2 penalties that called back runs. So he would have been over. No, it don't count. But he would. So we're at 95. But I believe that our defense is going, all right, as you said earlier, they'll still run being down 3 touchdowns. But at some point, you got to give up the ghost and start throwing that ball around to come back. Because if as Cody says, if Oliver or Settles, he doesn't believe both will play just because of the injury report. But if 1 or 2 plays, and our defense has been that interior defense, I thought got much stronger. And then the edge is I think our young guys have played much better. You got Vaughn on the other side, and to keep them fresh. That was one thing, remember, they talked about during the game, the rotation on that defensive line. So I'm going under here. I believe we're going to keep them under 95 yards without penalties.
I'm going to go under as well. I do believe that it's a culmination of all the things we spoke about, but mostly I think the Bills' gap integrity is going to be the difference because if you go back and look at that big run, Poyer was close, man. There were a lot of guys around the line of scrimmage, and when your safety's cheating like that, there's no one to stop the home run. So I just believe that they're going to be a little bit better with their gap control. And even if Settle doesn't play, Daquan, he would. I mean, they seem very interchangeable. They're just two big men who not only are clogging holes but are able to make plays while they're fending off a blocker. So I'm going to go with under. Cody, over under 49.5 total points.
I'm going to go with the under here as well. I'm sure we'll do this at the end, but I'm just going to give you my score prediction right now.
Oh, whoa.
No? Okay, we'll just go.
Save it,
All right,
save
we'll go under. But Herm, it's just settle, right? There's no settles. Stop putting an S on you.
Settle. Yeah, well, okay.
It's only one guy.
Singular, not plural, right? Settle.
Herm, what do you think? Under 49.5, or we because last we were over. We were at 65 maybe. What is it? 34-31 time they met.
Oh yeah, last year. But I don't think they're getting into the 30s this game. But I'm going over just because we're going to put up some points. We left a lot of points on the board against the Ram defense, and I think we can score more.
So what? The Bills are going to drop a 45 and
well, we're going to wait
field
till
goals.
You just told us to wait until later to give us
True.
But I'm going over. Yeah, I'm going over.
I'm going to go under. I think it's going to be slightly under, mostly because I don't see the game being all that close. So, and even if it is, it's because the Titans were able to slow down the game, like kind of like the old basketball when there wasn't the shot clock. The worst teams were able to bring the good guys down to their level. We're not going to beat you scoring 80, but we may beat you if it's to get first to 50. So I do believe the Titans will try to slow it down, or it's just going to be
you're going
too
back
much to handle.
You're going back before you were born.
I know.
Herm, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, wow, he's really going retro here. I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Georgetown.
Watch those old college. There you go. That's exactly what I was thinking.
I lost a lot of money on that game. Georgetown lost to Villanova with no shot clock.
Yep, that's the exact game I was thinking of.
Yeah, Patrick Ewing team. Yeah.
All right, number 4, Cody. Who scores the first touchdown? They listed on FanDuel Allen, and this is in the order of, I guess, the likelihood. Allen, Henry, Diggs, Singletary, Knox, Davis.
I'm going to go with Dawson Knox on this one.
Oh, I like that.
I think he only had, maybe 1 or 2 catches last week. Herm, you probably can correct me there, but I think he gets a little bit more involved this week. I know last year when we played him, he only had 3 catches, wasn't a big factor. And I don't necessarily think he's going to be a huge factor this week, but I think he'll be enough where I take him for the first.
He's always a threat in the red zone.
Yeah,
always. So that's a good pull. Herm, who do you think is going to be the first scorer?
Davis again. Going with Davis. Davis is Josh likes him. He likes him a lot, and Diggs gets a lot of attention over there on the other side, and their safeties do a good job, which is why Knox is I think limited with them. But I'm going with Davis.
That'll make it 3 different picks. I'm going to go with Singletary.
Okay.
I think they're going to start feeding. I think he's going to start vulturing Allen's touchdowns this season.
Motor.
Yeah, he started to do it last year, and I love the way that guy runs, man.
Yeah, me too.
He falls forward every time. I mean, he makes a couple guys misses, and then there's a couple key first downs that he brought, but I think he's ultimately going to get that first touchdown. All right, we'll move on to our final segment before the tweet of the week. Let's just do it rapid fire since we're running a little long. We'll start with you, Cody. What's your biggest concern of this game?
Biggest concern, obviously, starts with Henry and just our D-line not being healthy. So, I think that's just the only thing that's kind of up in the air. So, I'll go with that.
Herm?
I'm agreeing with Cody. I feel that's the only offensive weapon, in my opinion, that can hurt us. I mean, as we saw and we've seen, is a better way of putting it. One run, it can burst out, and then he picks up that momentum, and he's a beast. He's a beast once he gets going. But um, that's what I think. That's my biggest concern. But it's not going to stop us from winning the game.
I believe he's the only player on that team that has the ability to take it over for them.
Yeah.
I think everything else that, like, let's just say Traylon Burke starts going off, they can make some adjustments. They can put a safety over the top. They can change things up. I think Henry is the only one. He's the only superstar on that offensive side of the football, and I think he's the only one that can make a huge difference for them.
That was about as rapid fire as a musket. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with. My biggest concern is the Bills being. I hate this term, and I don't think it's proper English, but out physicaled. I don't know what the proper term is, but
pushed around.
If the Bills get punched in the mouth and they're not able to respond, that's my biggest concern. Herm, what's your key to victory?
Our key to victory is our offense to not turn the ball over. We turned the ball over 4 times at the end of the game. We looked good. We were very efficient, but we had 4 turnovers, and that's not a good statistic to have in any football game. And we won by 21 just because of the overall team superiority in my book, offensively and defensively. But I'd love to have a game with no turnovers, and let's see what our offense does. We saw what happened in the Patriot game with no turnovers.
What you got, Cody?
Yeah, I agree with Herm. The 4 turnovers, but we were able to beat a Sean McVay team with 4 turnovers by 3 touchdowns, right. And this team is not that. So I think if you have 1 or 2, you can probably still get away with it. I think I wouldn't say I'm not worried about it, but I would say, and we keep going back to this, I keep going back to the, how the Titans are going to play. And I think as long as the Bills keep their heads and play their game, they'll be okay.
I'm going to say the key to victory is making them kick field goals inside the green zone, anywhere on their side of their side of the 40. Last year when we played them, Henry had 3 touchdowns. A lot of them were inside the red zone, so I have two of the 3. But if we're able to have them kick field goals like they did for us, and then we're able to play our game, which I'm not concerned about, I really think that'll be the easiest way to get a lot of points on these guys, which will take them out of their element. So, yeah, I'm going to say just force them to kick field goals if they get down there. And Cody, lastly, any surprise active or inactive players that you see for Monday?
Well, I think one of my inactive guys last week I'll make active, and that will be Shaq Lawson. I think it's the first time he gets called up, and we touched on it earlier. He has the ability to slide inside and play tackle, and if both those guys, if one of them, if it's only one of them that's out, Brandon Bryan gets called up possibly, then that might work. But if both those guys are out for sure, I can see Shaq Lawson getting the call. Gives you position flexibility. He can play tackle, can play end, and he's very good against the run, which is obviously the bread and butter of the Titans. And then surprise inactive, I'm going to go with James Cook. This is a game where I expect it to be very physical, and I expect a little bit more running from Singletary and from
Moss.
Help me out here. Yeah, Moss. From Moss. So I think James Cook could be a surprise inactive.
What you got, Herm?
I'm going to go with Cody on the Cook, and I think I think they may swap him and Shakir and let Shakir play. and he's another receiver. I remember in that second preseason game against that number 1 Denver defense, caught 9 balls, and he looked good. He's a returner. If who Crowder's been doing in McKenzie, but he's I like him, and I don't. I think I don't want to. I don't want to think that McDermott's punishing Cook because he is very talented, and we took him high. But I think they may swap him out because, as Cody said, this is going to be a physical game, especially for the running backs. So that one there, I'll go along with that one.
Yeah, unfortunately, when I was thinking about this, there was more, the status of those 2 D linemen were more up in the air. Now that we're getting closer to the game, it may seem like they might be inactive, or at least one of them.
Right.
So I don't think, Shaq Lawson, I think the writing's on the wall with him with the injuries, but also him and Taylor Lewan have a history. And Shaq has played well against the Titans. So I think he's a big up there. I think McDermott will recognize that, or Leslie, whoever makes those calls. The James Cook one, to me, I feel like it may be low-hanging fruit, but I still think they keep him active only because I do believe they're going to go with a run-heavy type of game plan, and having 3 backs is going to be necessary for that. If last week showed anything, there was a nice rotation, and it's still early in the year, so I think Devin Singletary's carries will grow as the year goes on, as long as he stays healthy. But I did like the Shakir pick. If for whatever reason Cook doesn't go, I think Shakir's the guy. It's going to be sooner rather than later because there's not much that he showed out there on the field that would keep him off the field outside of numbers. So I look forward to seeing him, and I hope you're right, Herm. Let us get to the tweet of the week. This one is going to be a nice I don't know, Miami, New England themed roasting, if you want to call it that. So we'll start with the first one. It's your famous bus meme bus getting hit by the train. And I don't know if you guys saw, but there were these Dolphin fans after the game feeling mighty high about themselves. That's saying, "We want Buffalo." And next week, this will be the Bills, the freight train knocking them off the tracks. I don't know why these guys would even want, it's like, it's one thing if you think you're good, but I don't know why you'd be calling for your daddy. Yeah. Our second one, passing touchdowns of 30 plus yards. Walter Payton has 2. Randall L. has 3. Jim Brown has 2. Odell Beckham has 2. Jerome Bettis with 1. Rice with 1. Fitzgerald with 1. Earl Campbell with 1. Christian McCaffrey with 1. Now, that's a great list to be on, unless you're a starting quarterback to a Tagovailoa. You got Sweetness out there tripling you.
Really?
That's a yikes right there.
Shocked at Earl Campbell. I don't remember that one. Yeah.
And last but not least, we gotta throw some dirt on the Patriots, especially when they're down. The Boston Cream says offense fucking sucks, bro. And our buddy Greg Tomset says, "I've tried to liquefy this tweet and bathe in it." Cody, what's your tweet of the week?
I like number 3.
It's always good to
yeah, I'm not gonna really go into it. I just like that.
Herm, what say you?
I like the train that they're coming. We got them next. I think we got the Dolphins.
That's right. It's very poignant there.
Yeah. That Bills train. You think because
Third down.
Hill, you got Tyreek Hill, and you think because really their offense only scored because they got
14 points.
14, yeah, really,
right.
And 2 field goals. Yeah, that was it.
That was a miserable game.
Snooze fest.
Yeah, you got the pick 6 and so much for explosive offense, right?
And Tua's first pass double hopped to the receiver. Not one hop, just
skipping stones.
So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, so that bus, they want that. And that train's going, the train will be coming.
That's a scenario where I could really see Tyreek Hill kind of becoming that cancerous type number one diva receiver. If they're not, if we're 8-9 weeks in and they're not over 500, I think you can start seeing maybe some cancerous cells growing there.
And Waddle had the big play.
Metastasizing.
Waddle had the big play in that game, right?
He did.
I think it was like his only catch.
Yeah, caught it. He was like 7 yards and broke through. And
he's a good player. A very good player.
Yes, it was good. Yeah, he was a great receiver at Alabama, and he's talented. But I'd love to have him on our squad.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what 3-4 years. That may be an option.
Yeah.
All right, fellas, let's close this up with a score prediction. Cody, since you're chomping at the bit, let us be graced by your prediction.
I'm gonna come right under your 48.5 or whatever it was. 31-17.
31-17.
Yeah.
Herm.
42-14.
Whoa.
42-14. I'm going to go with 34-13.
34-13.
34-13.
So you're coming in. You and Cody are coming in under the what was it? 40? Was it 49.5?
49.5.
49.5. Yeah. So I got them at 56. Okay. Yeah.
Hey, I'll take yours all day, Herm.
Yeah,
Please
I want
make us
yours.
wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, look, without those turnovers, two of those were in the red zone. You remember last week?
Yeah, we were marching.
Oh yeah,
Hang
we would
onto the ball.
All right, last words. What you got, Cody?
Hang onto the ball.
Truly, words were never spoken.
I had wrote something down before, and I was like, "Oh, this is a good, this is a good
prepared
ending." And
speech, yeah.
no, it wasn't. It was just one line.
6 inches in front of your face.
I don't know what the hell I did with it. Anyway, I'll just go back to before. Jalen Ramsey's trash. That was a terrible pick.
What you got, Herm?
I'm going to use you've been with me a few times, my favorite, finish the drives.
I would hate to piggyback off of that because it's not very original, but it's true. I mean, you withstand. It's kind of like a hockey game where the crowd's buzzing, everything's going real fast. People are laying the wood, and then it settles down that after 10 minutes. I just think the Bills need to be that calm because the Titans know their only chance is to bully us. And I think we finally got the guys up front on both sides of the ball from top to bottom to combat that. So
that's right.
Let's we got a couple more games, a couple more days to wait. A lot of games to watch. So everyone out there, enjoy your another stress-free Sunday. And if you got to get home a little early, if you're not feeling your throat's a little scratchy, do what you got to do. Be there. We will be there. Other than that, thank you for joining us, and go Bills.
Go Bills.
Let's go Buffalo.
You got me feeling like I'm Josh Allen, yeah. What? You got me feeling like I'm Josh. Okay. You got me feeling like I'm Josh Allen, yeah. Josh.
Got me feeling like I'm
Who? Josh. Yeah.
Josh Allen.